Light is really strange stuff because it's invisible. You can see the light source, let's say the sun, and you can see what the light is landing on, the subject, in this case me, but you can't see the journey between the sun and the subject. So you do need to be able to pre-visualize, imagine how the light is behaving so that you can use it appropriately within your photography. And I find the best way to recognize how light is behaving is to imagine it as a liquid, maybe water. So if I were going to take a shot of my mate Paul here in direct sunlight, so the light is coming from the sun straight into the side of his face, kind of like this. Look what's happening to the water, to the light. Look, this side of his face is really, really bright, whereas the other side is in deep shadow. The light is shattering up and down, but very little of it was reaching the other side. So that side of his face would be in shadow. If we had softer light, say it was coming through a cloud, it's going to be far more gentle and it's going to kind of wrap itself around him. Now look, we've still got this side brighter than the other, and the other side is in shade, but it's not quite such a harsh shadow as it would have been with the direct light. And the more you smash that light up, the softer it becomes. Look, as we really break those little bits of light up, look at it now. Look at those soft, gentle little droplets of light. They're just sort of wrapping themselves around Paul. Most of them are reaching the other side of his face, and therefore the shadow is going to be so much softer. Now, I'm not saying any one of these types of light is right or better than another, but you do need to understand and recognize which are appropriate for different subjects. So if you want long, hard, dark shadows, then what you need, of course, is a direct sort of jet of light like that. That will cause those shadows. If you want softer light, you need to break it up a bit, either with clouds or maybe doing something in the kitchen using a window light. You might want to put a sheet of tracing paper up to break that light up a bit more. The important thing is think of it as water. Pre-visualize how it's behaving. Thanks, Paul. Something that's critically important is to learn how to see qualities of light. We don't naturally do this. We just kind of go, I can see, therefore there's light, therefore it's good. And you're right, you're not wrong. But qualities of light, shadows and highlights, and how hard-edged those shadows are. Some are really sharp and clearly defined. Some are kind of soft and fuzzy. These highlights and shadows, they bring out shapes and forms and textures. There are times when the sun is in certain places in the sky when it is better to shoot a landscape. If you want to learn a bit about qualities of light, all you really need is an orange and a couple of odds and sods. Now, we've set up this little rig here. The light in here is very flat and even. If you want to replicate this, I recommend you do if you can. But don't try and do this next to a window during the day, because what's going to happen? Tons of light will come in. Let's go further. You will see what I'm talking about. So we've got our orange in shot. I have got, this is a little LED video light. It's got a little diffuser on the front. If you don't have one, that's cool, but you could probably do this with a desk lamp, with a bit of sheeting over the front, piece of muslin cloth, bit of tracing paper, same thing. Let's just turn that on. And I think straight away, you can, look. You see, we've got a highlight and a shadow. If we get rid of that, look, flat light, even just a little bit of light, and it's making a difference. So let's explore this. When the light begins at the start of the day and it's down low in the sky, look, we've got a bright side, we've got a dark side, and we've got this dividing line running through the middle, and it is showing us a texture. So this is one of the reasons why with landscape, they always say early in the morning, late in the day. It's because the sun is low in the sky. And as it travels through the sky, look, the shadows, they begin to shorten. The shapes begin to disappear. Look how this line here is moving. Look, you see, we've got a really nicely defined shape here of a sphere, and now it's starting to disappear. As the sun gets overhead, middle of the day, and it goes around the camera lens, as it always does, and then you see, look, from here, straight down, hard light. This is like the sun being directly overhead on a clear blue sky day. We've got quite hard light, there's a bit of a shadow going on right underneath. As opposed to a day when it's cloudy and the sun is behind the clouds, then it is totally flattening the light, it's coming from everywhere. And then you have this, totally flat, soft light, diffuse light. It's coming from all directions, there's next to no shadow. Moving on with our lesson. So the sun carries on through the sky, and once again the shadows, they begin to lengthen. We start to get this line, our shape, our definition coming back in, and as the sun gets down towards the horizon until eventually it disappears and is gone. This is a really important thing to get your head around. Now that's kind of showing us some shapes. What about some textures? If we just pop my cockerel in there and let's just give him a bit more space, because there's stuff we can do here. Now look, in the flat light, nothing wrong with it, but there's no real shape or texture, is there? As soon as we start to bring a little bit of light to bear, I think you'll notice that, hang on, I'll go over here, look at the difference straight away, just by adding some light. Look at that, see, some light and some shade, having this bright highlight here, and then the shade. It's suddenly more interesting than that, isn't it? And if you wish, as you've sort of got light coming up to the side, you can then start to incorporate a shadow almost as part of a composition, and it gets so much more interesting. But be careful with this, because it's not so bad from here, but if you get the light directly overhead, suddenly it starts to go really unpleasant, doesn't it? These are things which I strongly recommend you play with. Look what happens as you turn that and you use just the edge of the light. You see how the light, we're just using the edge. Look how it looks different. What happens if we do it from the other side? Look at that. These things make a world of difference in your photography. Now I want to have one more look at light. This is more to do with backlighting, with direction of light. What happens as the light moves around things? Because we don't normally look straight down. What about when we look straight forward at? I've got to change my setup. I'm just trying to make sure I don't get cardboard on the edge of the shot. I think we're good there. I think that's good enough. Right. Let's have a little look. We're going to photograph with a lobster. I always recommend you practice with your lobster. Let's get some light on. Now look, we've got the flat light. This is the cloudy day sort of light, when the light's just coming from everywhere through the clouds. How about trying that same experiment as the light goes from side to side? Because poor old Lobby, he doesn't look very inspired, does he? But if we start to put a bit of light next to Lobby, look, that looks a bit more interesting, doesn't it? We've got some highlights and some shadows. We've got a bright side and a dark side. Immediately, it's more interesting. Qualities of light. Look at this line, you see, where the shadow is going across. Is it a hard, fast, a hard, sharp line? Look at these shadows here. Are they sharp? Not really. They're fairly soft. But if I turn this and come in closer, look, this shadow here, up close, is getting a sharp edge. That's a hard shadow. That is a soft shadow. These are things to watch for. So we've got a side-lit lobster. What happens as the light climbs through the day? You end up with top light. It's still nicer than that horrible front light, isn't it? And as we come over the top, look, direct down light. That's not very attractive, is it? How about as we come through to this side? Now look what's happening. Can you see? This is about qualities of light. Look. Just here, there is a line of light and it is moving as I bring that light. You see? That is a soft change, shade, highlight. Now look, as we go from directly above, that shadow is starting to appear slightly on the sides towards me and my camera. It's the opposite in the main camera. But look at the little Lobby inset. As the light is coming down to the side here, look. Look, the shadows are almost coming towards the camera. I think you will agree Lobby looks a lot more interesting. This highlight behind his eye. In the main camera you can't see it. In this one you can. It's all to do with where you position your camera and the light. So everyone says don't put the sun behind the camera or the light behind the camera. They say Shoot with the light maybe over your shoulder. Not bad. Maybe not bad, possibly better. Let's explore that one. Look, as the light comes from that horrible, direct sort of flash appearance, we start to bring the light over the top. We know it's not great, but I think you'll agree that's better. And then start to bring it from behind, doing what they say you shouldn't do. And the light comes towards the camera. Look at this claw shadow down here, look. As we start to bring shadows towards, so much more interesting. And as we come lower and lower, look, we've got this little ridge light here. We've got a little ridge light on the edge of the claw here. You're seeing it in this camera, but for you, in this camera, in this big camera, for you, Joe, in the video, this light's horrible. But looking this way, it's great. Let's swap it round, you see? In my little camera, it's horrible light. But in the main video camera, I think you'll agree that Lobby's light is a lot better. Joe, give us a yes or a no.
Yes, much better.
Yeah, there we go. This is what's meant by qualities of light. You've just seen how on a kitchen table of an evening, using a plastic lobster, an orange and my cockerel, you can mess about and see how light makes such a difference. This is so crucial to photography. Practice light, practice looking at light. Your homework from this moment into forever is to look at light. If you're sitting across from somebody having a conversation, look at the light on their face. What's it doing? Are there any shadows around their eyes? Is the light putting a shadow, coming down, putting a shadow on their eyes? Are they standing next to a white wall on a sunny day and is the light kind of really lifting their face? Are they standing underneath a downlighter? I'm not really, I look to see. Have they got a black triangle under their nose from the light coming straight down? Maybe it's the sunshine. Have they got a black triangle on their face from their nose? Noses cause black triangles. Your first bit of observational homework in this category is look for black triangles on people's faces. And if you see one, look around to see what is causing it. If you don't see one, ask yourself, why isn't there one there? And before very long, you're going to be recognizing qualities of light. Go and get stuck into this. Watch this little video again. Practice with some things yourself. Do it on the tabletop in your kitchen. Apart from you and all the good stuff you've been learning in this course, light is the most important thing because it can make or break a picture. You've seen something about the different types of light, how to start visualizing it as water. Now what I would like you to do is to practice using those types of light on some different textures. So here's an exercise I want you to do. I put together a little still life down here of different textures, of different materials. We're going to photograph them in different types of light. We've got a translucent petaled lily, a flower, it's kind of delicate. We've got these little pebbles here, which have got a nice rounded shape. What are the shadows going to do here? We've got this weird looking seed pod I picked up in a desert in Africa. It's got that jaggedy texture. We've got the regular angularity of this presentation tin. We've got the translucency of a bottle. Pop them on a tray, put them on a stool or something, and then you can move your still life around. Now you may notice I've got an ancient monument behind me. You do not need an ancient monument to do this exercise. I'm doing it here because it's easier for us to film, because there are different types of pools of light all around this entrance. You could do this in your open garage at home, or maybe under the porch. You could probably do it under different trees and things like that. You will be able to see the different opportunities. Just experiment in different light. So the first thing we're going to do is take a photograph of this in direct, hard sunlight coming from behind me and crashing into the front of our subjects. I'm going to try and control the background for you a little bit by using a longer lens and a shallow aperture. Sorry, shallow depth of field with a wide aperture, so that we can concentrate more on the subject. I'm going to photograph from a kind of standing position. There. Then we're going to have a little comparison to see what these shots look like. Next, let's side light them. So all we've got to do is to turn our still life 90 degrees to the sun. There we go. See the shadows just moved? Now let's take a picture at this angle and see how they look. let's take that shot here. And then we'll have a look and see how it looked. Next, how about full backlight, full hard direct light coming from behind our subjects. Look, see the shadows, they're coming forwards. Now then, how does that work? So I'm going to go back over here and take the shot again. I am going to increase the exposure a bit because the background is confusing the light meter a touch, and I want to expose more for our subjects. Just 2/3 should be enough. Zoom in a little and we have another. This archway that's behind you is a great spot because we can sort of simulate that soft diffuse light because we can stop the direct light. So let's put our still life in here. Now we need to make sure it's in shade. What are we going to do? I'm going to put it here. And what's happening with this light? We have got soft diffuse backlight. So this arch that's going on around me here, this is stopping any downlight. The only light that's hitting that in the shade is the very, very soft directional light. So let's have a look and see how that works. It's fun, this, isn't it? This is what photography is all about. This is how you learn. You practice, you come up with ideas and ways. I'm just bending my knees because there was a nasty line behind our subject. You can see that looks really dark because the light level in here is much lower than outside. So I am going to pimp that exposure and just being very careful because I want you to see the subject, but I don't want to burn the subject out. I think we should be good there. Take that. Cool. Shutter speed's got a bit low. I think we'll be all right. I'm just going to pimp the ISO as well. Now, how about if we were to use soft diffuse side light? So what we're going to do is the same thing as out there. I'm going to turn the tray this way. I'm going to have to put it closer to the background because there isn't so much space in here. But I don't know if you can see down here, if you look at those shadows on the tray, they're still there, but they're very, very fuzzy and soft edged. That is a sign of soft diffuse directional light. Let's see what we can come up with. Here we go. That's pretty good. Let's take that shot. Next, let's try another little experiment. And it's only because I'm in here that I'm going to try this. At that end, we've got another arch, besides the one you're standing in. So what does that mean? That means we've got light coming from two directions. What would that look like? If we put our subjects over here, probably about halfway, so we've got light coming from two directions, but there's none coming down because of the roof. How do we know when it's about halfway? Look at the shadows on the ground, because when the shadows are about even, either side of my foot, that will suggest that the light is about the same. Where are you? There you are. If one shadow was thicker than the other, darker than the other, then there's more light coming from the opposite side, isn't there? So simple. Right, going to grab my camera. Here we go. Let's try it. That looks nice. Straight away, I can see that's going to look nice. So let's see what we can come up with. Let's line up our shot. I think you can see already it looks nice. Just take that exposure back down a touch because I don't want to overcook it. That, I think, with the histogram, looks happy. And just take that one. So all we've got to do now is review our pictures. Ignore the background, look at the picture, look at the qualities of light on our subjects. So in this one, we have got the light coming from two directions. It's coming from here and from here. There's no direct downlight. Imagine what water would do. If it was really, really raining, you'd have just the faintest feeling of moisture from either side, but there'd be no downpour. And that's what we've got here. And if you look at the textures in that flower, look at the two highlights on the bottle, look at the subtle shape of those stones. It's really rather nice. But our rough, jaggedy seed, well, it's not doing it a lot of favours. Go to the next one. So what have we got here? We've got soft diffuse side light, haven't we? Which is blowing in from the side. Again, it's quite nice. The background is annoying because I couldn't get far enough away to blur it, but there we go. Look at the flower. The flower looks, it's really gentle. You can see how soft that light is. Actually, I'm a little surprised. I thought there would be more shadow and texture going on here, but there isn't. This is one of the reasons it's so important to do this. I've been doing this for donkey's years, and that surprised me. Light can always surprise us. How about the backlight? This is the soft backlight. The flower looks lovely. If we pan in and just kind of have a look, it's really great on the flower. I quite like the stones. They look quite nice. The bottle is beautifully, gently lit. You can see the textures. You can see what's written in it. The shade on the front of the tin's nice. You see how that highlight is making the shape considerably stronger. And we've got just a little hint of texture on our seed. Now we've got the strong backlight in sunshine, haven't we? And the bottle is really sort of singing. It's starting to pop. How about our tin of Jack Daniels? That looks pretty good. I like the highlight on the top of the tin. I love those little spiky highlights on the top of the seed pod. The pebbles look pretty good. They got some nice little bits of light wrapping around them, giving them a nice shape and a nice texture. And when we close up on the flower, you can see the little veins in the petals. What have we got here? We've got side light, haven't we? We've got strong side light. Notice straight away that the tin works best. Angular subjects in strong, hard, direct light, they always work best. The seed pod's not bad. The seed pod's not bad, all those little shadows, but it's the tin that's winning. Interesting, isn't it? There's no such thing as bad light. There's just what light is appropriate. The pebbles, again, they look pretty good with those shadows. The bottle is kind of getting away. The bottle is sort of getting away with it. The flower, however, I think those highlights and shadows, they're just a bit too much. They're not good. Softer, delicate subjects look better in softer, delicate light. And now we've got the hard, direct light coming straight into the front of our subjects. And to be honest, I think it looks boring. The bottle's okay. It's all okay. It's kind of like record-keeping photography, isn't it? We've got a bottle, we've got a tin, we've got a seed, and we've got a flower. Here they all are. Oh, and a pile of pebbles. But I would say that light isn't doing any of them any favours. It strikes me that the best one of the lot was the one we did right at the end with the light coming from two directions. That, I think, looks absolutely magical, marvellous. But go and do this for yourself. Go and try these things out. Find out what works, because it will help you to gain experience. It will help you figure out what you need to do in different big world situations. When you're out and about, you'll look at the light, you'll visualize it as water. You'll think, how does that affect something with a texture, something that's translucent? How does it affect these different things? And it will help you use that light to bring your pictures to life. Light, it is the dream maker or the heartbreaker. It makes such a difference. It's so important to get used to looking at light as it lands on things, as it lands on people, on buildings, on landscapes, on scenery. I got my chum Thor out in Iceland to record a time-lapse out of his kitchen window. This is the view across the bay from Thor's kitchen window, because I wanted you to see how the light travels across the ground, how it creates shadows, how it goes flat at the middle of the day, and then as we move it later into the day, you get some more shadows back, but also how, as you go into the evening, it completely changes colour, which also, of course, it does first thing in the morning. These are things we tend not to notice unless they're sped up, which is why we got this bit of time-lapse. Let's just quickly have a review through it again. Right at the beginning of the day, before the sun's come up, we've got that bluey coloured light, which we don't see. That's a white balance thing. I don't want to go too far into this. This is far more about the effect light has on the scenery. But the light is completely flat. There are no highlights, there are no real shadows here, are they? It's just a bit dark. As we move forward, look, the light levels are coming up, the colour is changing, but then boom, suddenly, look, we've got this bright highlight on the foreground, and it looks kind of nice, doesn't it? You've got to admit it. And we're drawn immediately to the brightest part of the picture. Immediately we look at it, that is where our eye goes. If we go back a bit, look, into that flat area, we don't know where to look, do we? We're kind of like scanning around the picture thinking, oh, I don't know what to look at. And then suddenly we know. As we move through the day and these clouds are moving through the sky, the light goes in and out, it goes flat and boring again. Look at that little highlight suddenly going across the other side of the bay, like a little searchlight, lighting up just a little section of the area. These are all useful photographer tools, watching what light is doing. Let's just move it forward a little bit further. You'll see that as those clouds move, we've got another highlight on the other side. Look at that light over there now. Look at those highlights on the other side. This is light changing because the weather has changed. We lost some of the haze and suddenly we're looking on the opposite side of the bay. It's really clearly obvious because the light is telling us what to look at. As we move further on, the clouds will begin to clear. Now we've got an argument going on. Do we look at this side of the bay or that side? Because the light's the same on both of them, isn't it? These are just things to look out for. Look, where's that bit there? Where did I go? Where did it go? There. Now we're looking at the far side again because we haven't got light on both. Fascinating stuff this, isn't it? You can see those little pools of light moving around on the water. And suddenly we've got an open sky. The light's flat and even right across the bay. Look at the mountains. There's no real shape or texture to them, is there? They're just kind of big rocky things, but there's no shape, there's no real texture. Even as the light level comes up a little bit around here, there's still no real texture. For that, we need to get either some spotlights on them, or we need the light to go sideways. We need further into the day, like this. Look how those shadows are stretching across the mountains. Look now how much more moody that whole scene looks. We've got shadows on the grass and we've got shadows on the mountain. But at the same time, we're looking more predominantly at the foreground because they've got all those textures that are being brought out in the grasses. The shadows are getting longer and longer. It's getting moodier and moodier. Shadows and highlights often make moody. And then as we go on, the sun goes down. Look at that little kiss of highlight on the grass there. That's quite exciting, isn't it? Again, we know what we're looking at. That's quite attractive. Then the night goes completely flat, and again, the white balance changes and it goes blue. It's amazing, isn't it? When you see this sped up, just what a difference it can make to a scene, to a landscape, to whatever, to a cityscape, to a building, to what you're doing, whether you're out with your friends, you know, are there some little pools of light going on, these little things that you can learn to do subconsciously. I think what is a good idea is to go out and do it ourselves. So let's go and take 3 pictures at different times a day and have a look and see how they look. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and what a lovely morning it is this morning. 6:30, up early. Light doesn't wait for you. The sun is just over the top of the trees over there. Splendid. Now, we've been here many times, haven't we? And I want you to do this somewhere that is very familiar to you. Because it's familiar to you, you will really notice that changing light and how it changes the appearance of that familiar place. So what have we got? Our house. Now look, there's an obvious problem straight away, isn't there? And it's caused by the light. Look at this shadow here. There's not much you can do about getting rid of your own shadow apart from something like that, and then we lose one of the most interesting parts of this shot. So little tip, if you do need to lose your own shadow, sometimes you can kind of hunker down and do things like this and pretend you're a boulder. Where are we? Something like that. It's not ideal, but okay, so this is going to be our shot. We're going to repeat this several times. Put it onto camera mode. Right. Looks like I'll be coming back for a walk at lunchtime. Looks very different indeed, doesn't it? I just had a lovely bun for my lunch. Let's take that midday shot and see how it looks. I don't remember exactly where I was. I think it was somewhere around here. I'll hunker down again. So it's about the same. Have a look at my histogram. That is so contrasty now. Right, I think this was about our shot like that, or very close to it. So let's compare that. And look, as you can see, there are some clouds in the sky. The light's going up and down a bit. In fact, it's just starting to go behind a cloud. I'm going to take another one. Oh no, it's come back out again. When we get the sun go behind the cloud again, I'm going to take another shot, because I think you'll notice there's a really big difference. Look, the light's just dropped. Let's do it again. Up my exposure a bit to compensate, and there we go. Quickly managed to grab another shot. And look, the light has just changed all over again. So we've got to do now is come back tonight, see how it looks then. So back in the evening, doesn't it look utterly different? Now, I thought we were going to have some highlights on the side of the building, but let me just show you. The sun has just gone behind that great big cloud over there. That is not very helpful. It's one of those things that happen. So I'll come back another evening, but it's a great opportunity to see what it looks like in this light. You can already see how different it is. Let's take our shot once again. If I can find my composition, I think I was about here. Do the hunker, get down here and repeat our shot. There's our shot. It looks totally different. So the next thing I've got to do is to come back another evening when the sun is shining from over there and the light will be catching this side of the building. Then we'll have a little look through, see what they all look like. I'm going home for dinner now, but I didn't go home. How I suffer for you guys. I thought, I wonder what will happen as that cloud moves over. It's totally changed the dynamic of everything, hasn't it? And look, there's a little hint of light appearing on the side of the house as the sun is coming in under the cloud. It's just starting to rain and it's getting a bit windy. Can we get that one? Let's just see. Look, that little bit of light on the side of the building. Oh boy, that's picked it up. That looks pretty good. You see how that has suddenly become really rather dramatic. The light has changed. The sun is just starting to appear underneath this cloud. Let's show you. Here we go. Here is our house, and the sun has just started to poke out behind those trees over there. You see the rain spots landing on the lens? But it completely changed the dynamic of that shot. It now looks really interesting, whereas when the sun had just gone in, it looked totally dull, boring, and uninteresting. These are the fascinating things that light can do. Go and try this out for yourself. See what you can make out of somewhere that you know well. Go and repeatedly photograph it in different weather, in different light, at different times of day. Because then you'll start to understand what makes or breaks a picture. This picture and this picture are separated by maybe 3 minutes where the light changed. And you can see how radically different they are. Go and try this out for yourself. Just have fun with it. I've really enjoyed coming out here. I didn't expect to enjoy this when I saw that bank of cloud coming, but I did.